Somewhere, right now, someone is standing in front of a mirror, deciding whether they look put together enough to leave the house. It feels ordinary, automatic, the kind of check you make without thinking every single morning of your life. But step back far enough, and it stops looking ordinary at all. Because 1,000 years ago, in a world without glass mirrors, without toothpaste ads, without a single product promising confidence in 30 seconds, people were already performing that same quiet ritual. And the group history loves to call dirty may have understood it better than anyone. The story we're taught is simple. Vikings were savages. Mud, blood, matted hair. Raiders who smelled like the ships they slept on. A people too busy killing to care how they looked. Case closed. Except the ground keeps disagreeing. When archaeologists open Viking Age graves and settlement layers, they do not only find swords and ship rivets. They find combs, hundreds of them, bone, antler, sometimes stored in little cases, like something worth protecting. They find tweezers, ear scoops, small iron tools made for the unglamorous work of a body that expected to be inspected up close. The kind of objects you hang at a belt when appearance is not a festival costume. It is maintenance. So if filth was the whole story, why did so many people take their grooming kit into the afterlife? Here is the strange, quiet part. In Old Norse, Saturday is lavgardagur, washing day, bathing day. The name of the day itself is a hygiene instruction built into the week. That does not prove every person bathed every single Saturday like a modern checklist. Language is not a laboratory result. But cultures do not name a day after washing, unless washing mattered enough to organize time around it. At trading towns like Birka, the toolkit grows more intimate still. Ear scoops for wax, tweezers for stray hair, combs cut with teeth fine enough to drag lice and grit out of hair that lived under wool hoods and salt wind. These are not luxury toys for a royal court. They show up across ordinary graves and settlement rubbish, which means the habit was widespread enough to become normal. And then there are the written outsiders. This is where the story stops being a simple clean versus dirty debate and starts being about something much stranger. In the early 10th century, the traveler Ahmad ibn Fadlan described a group of Rus traders on the Volga. He watched a morning washing ritual pass from man to man in a shared bowl. Face, hair, comb. He was revolted. He called them among the filthiest of God's creatures. To a Muslim diplomat raised on strict rules of purity, their method looked disgusting. But notice what he is not saying. He is not saying they never washed. He is describing people who washed every morning in a way that violated his sacred standard of cleanliness. Two truths can sit in the same bowl of water. They cared about the face they showed the world, and an outsider still found them unclean. That tension is the real door into Viking hygiene. We tend to treat grooming as vanity, a soft modern weakness, something you do for likes, for dating apps, for the little hit of being approved by a screen. But strip away the mirrors and the brands, and hygiene starts looking less like self-care and more like infrastructure. In the Viking world, reputation traveled at the speed of gossip and memory. There was no profile page, no permanent record of who you were, except the story other people told when you left the room. Your face was the first paragraph of that story. Your beard, your hair, the linen against your skin. Whether you smelled like smoke and sheep and river water, or like someone who had given up on being read as fully human by their own group. In a society built on honor, trade, marriage alliances, and crew trust, looking neglected did not only mean unfashionable, it could read as unmanaged, unreliable, low status. A body advertising that no one, including you, was investing in it. So if cleanliness was not mainly about germ theory they did not have, what was it? It was a signal, a wearable claim. I belong to a people who maintain themselves. I am worth proximity. I can be trusted close enough to share food, space, risk, and rumor. Think about what proximity meant in that world. Long houses packed with bodies through winter. Ships where men slept shoulder to shoulder above bilge water. Markets where a stranger's breath and hands decided whether silver changed owners. There was nowhere to hide a body that had stopped caring for itself. Which means the comb was not a beauty accessory first. It was social equipment. A much later English chronicle, written centuries after the age it describes, claims Norsemen caused trouble in England because they combed their hair daily, bathed on Saturdays, changed clothes often, and made themselves dangerously attractive to local women. Treat that story carefully. It is not an eyewitness field report. It is memory, politics, and moral panic braided together long after the fact. But even as a late complaint, it reveals something useful. The fear is not they are monsters. The fear is they are competitive, clean enough, groomed enough, socially skilled enough to disrupt the local mating and status market. Whether every line is literal truth matters less than the shape of the accusation. Outsiders experienced Norse self-presentation as an advantage, and advantages, in human history, rarely survive unless they do work. There is another layer people skip when they argue about baths. Lice, damp wool, open fire smoke in the hair, salt crust on skin after weeks at sea. A world without modern detergents still had a brutal practical reason to drag a fine comb through hair and beard. Comfort was part of it. Health, as they understood it through itch and infection and foul smell, was part of it. But practicality alone does not explain the care taken with these objects. Combs are decorated, stored, buried, passed through a life long enough to wear their teeth down. People do not ritualize what means nothing. This is where the story stops being only about Vikings and starts being about something much older. Long before Scandinavia had longships, humans were already decorating bodies, oiling skin, plucking, painting, scenting, arranging hair. Not because evolution invented Instagram, because once humans lived in groups large enough for choice, who to trust, who to follow, who to marry, who to blame, the body became a billboard with no off switch. Clothing was language you could wear. Jewelry was rank you could see. Hygiene was the baseline grammar underneath both. Vikings did not invent that system. They inherited it, then ran it hard in a world of wet wool, open fire, lice, salt wind, and faces inspected at arm's length in winter light. The comb in the grave is not a cute archaeological fun fact. It is evidence that the dead were buried with the tools of social survival, the same way other cultures buried weapons, keys, or amulets. Because looking human to your group was never optional. And that is the quiet part modern arguments miss when they swing between filthy barbarian and secret spa civilization. Both of those stories are cartoons. The real picture is harsher and more interesting. A people living inside weather, work, and violence still spent scarce time and scarce craft on the face they presented, not because they had unlocked 19th century medicine, because status, desire, belonging, and fear of being misread were already ancient pressures wearing northern clothes. In other words, Viking hygiene was never mainly a story about soap. It was a story about being legible. So, if constant filth was not the full truth, and pure vanity is too thin an answer, what was the engine? The engine was this. In a world without paperwork, your maintained body was one of the few stable proofs of who you claim to be. So the next time you pause at a mirror before you walk out the door, adjust your hair, check your teeth, wonder if you look okay, understand what that pause actually is. It is not proof you are shallow. It is a very old negotiation between your private body and the public story you need other people to believe about you. The Vikings were not secretly modern people with better public relations. They were humans under pressure, using the oldest technology available to manage status, desire, belonging, and the fear of being read as less. They did not stay clean because they had discovered germs. They stayed presentable because, in their world, the face you maintained was part of the life you were allowed to have. You're not just fixing your hair, you're continuing a conversation that started before mirrors, and long before anyone thought to call it hygiene. If this changed the way you'll look at a comb, a bathroom mirror, or the word barbarian tomorrow morning, that is exactly the point. Like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden history of human behavior, and tell me in the comments, what is one small thing you do to get ready that is not really about cleanliness at all? It is about who you need to be when you step outside.